A government file stamped top secret. 4 faces stare back at us. Team headquarters, secret mid-ocean location, codename New Atlantis. That file belongs to the Phantasmics, a superhero team that vanished without a trace 15 years before the events of The Incredibles. And here's what should bother you. Their headquarters match the exact description of the island Syndrome calls his own. For 20 years, we've bought a story, the story of Buddy Pine, rejected fanboy turned technological god, a self-made genius who built a volcano fortress from scratch, who invented weapons that defied physics, who outsmarted every super who ever lived. But the NSA files buried in the DVD extras tell a different story, one where Syndrome didn't build anything. He moved into a dead man's house and called it his own. Here's what Syndrome says to Mr. Incredible's face.
Oh, I'm real enough to defeat you! And I did it without your precious gifts, your oh-so-special powers.
He's lying, and I can prove it. Buddy Pine gets rejected by Mr. Incredible in the prologue. He's maybe 12 years old. The main story picks up 15 years later. In that window, Syndrome allegedly built a volcanic island fortress in international waters, monorail systems threading through the jungle, a dining room hidden behind a waterfall of flowing magma, rocket silos integrated into an active volcano, a private army, aerospace capability, and weapons technology so advanced that no government on Earth possesses anything comparable. 15 years, starting as a teenager with rocket boots. Now, Syndrome tells us how he got rich selling weapons.
How do you think I got rich? I invented weapons, and now I have a weapon that only I could defeat.
Fine, weapons contracts can generate massive capital, but capital doesn't solve logistics problems. Building a secret island base means every construction worker is a security risk, every supply ship is a paper trail, and every piece of heavy machinery moving through the international waters screams, "Investigate me." The infrastructure on Nomanisan Island isn't 15 years of work, it's decades, government-level investment, institutional resources. But maybe Syndrome is just that good. He had 0-point energy, he could automate construction. He's a genius, that's the whole point of his character. And that's fair. The movie wants us to accept he's exceptional. But there's a simpler explanation that resolves every logistical question at once. He didn't build the island. He found one that was already built. Buried in the DVD bonus features is a collection of NSA files, canonical government records on every registered super.
Agent Rick Dicker, file 93718. These files contain highly classified information regarding the supers. These should still be treated with the utmost secrecy and respect.
Most fans skip them, and that's a mistake. File 93718 contains a dossier on a team called the Phantasmics, and one line changes everything. I'm gonna read it to you exactly as it appears. Team headquarters, secret mid-ocean location, codename New Atlantis. Secret mid-ocean location. The Phantasmics weren't street-level heroes operating out of a city high-rise. Their focus was international threats, which required a base outside any nation's jurisdiction. Self-sustaining, technologically advanced, and staffed around the clock. The name matters too. New Atlantis isn't random. It's a direct reference to Francis Bacon's 1626 novel describing a mythical island called Ben Salem, located in the Pacific Ocean, home to a state-sponsored scientific institution dedicated to mastering nature. If the NSA named their black site after Bacon's Pacific Island of super science, they were signaling exactly what the facility was designed to be. And where is Syndrome's island, Nomanisan? In the South Pacific. The probability of 2 secret high-tech islands existing in the same ocean, one government built for the Phantasmics and one privately constructed by a single individual in 15 years, strains belief. But here's what you might be thinking. Maybe Syndrome found an abandoned base. The government decommissioned New Atlantis after the super ban, and he just moved into an empty building. And that's actually pretty close to the truth. But the base wasn't empty when he arrived. The people who lived there were still breathing. When Mr. Incredible hacks Syndrome's computer, we see the Omnidroid victim list scrolling past. Most viewers register it as background texture, a montage of dead heroes. But that order matters. Universal Man, Psycwave, Everseer, Macroburst, and Macroburst again after he finally defeated version 2. Psycwave and Everseer were both Phantasmics. Macroburst was their teammate, 3 members of a 4-person team, killed in immediate succession by a prototype. The Omnidroid version X1 was a clunky tracked unit with tank treads, limited mobility, and no flight capability. This wasn't a global hunter-killer. It couldn't possibly hop continents and assassinate supers in their own home. So how did it manage to terminate 3 members of the same team back to back? Because it didn't travel to them. They were already there. The most parsimonious explanation is that Syndrome located the abandoned New Atlantis facility, moved in, and then used the base's own records to contact its former residents. The Phantasmics, living under civilian identities since the Superban, were lured back to their old headquarters. Maybe Syndrome posed as a government agent reactivating the program, or maybe he faked a distress signal. The specifics don't really matter. What matters is that when they arrived, the Omnidroid was waiting for them. Psycwave, Everseer, dead within hours of each other, and then Macroburst, the team's transport specialist with wind manipulation powers. He actually destroyed the version 1. He's listed as the first super to defeat an Omnidroid, but Syndrome simply deployed the version 2, which replaced the treads with legs for better stability against wind attacks. And then Macroburst fell too. But what about Universal Man? He died first and he wasn't a Phantasmic. Universal Man had one critical vulnerability that made him the perfect test subject. From his NSA audio file,
"Most superheroes have the alter ego so they can have the so-called normal life. Me, I choose not to."
no secret identity, the only super Syndrome could locate without insider information. Universal Man was the calibration test, proof that the version 1 could actually kill before Syndrome turned it loose on the Phantasmics. One detail the film leaves unresolved is Plasma Bolt, the 4th Phantasmic.
Audio file for Plasma Bolt erased inadvertently due to Plasma Bolt's electromagnetic aura.
He never appears on the Kronos kill list. Missing, unconfirmed. Either she escaped the massacre or her fate is buried somewhere we haven't found yet. Everything so far is circumstantial. Strong circumstantial evidence, yet still circumstantial. But Gazerbeam is the smoking gun. Mr. Incredible finds his skeleton in a cave, the visor, the cape, the GB insignia.
Gazerbeam.
The conventional interpretation is that Gazerbeam survived his Omnidroid fight, infiltrated the base, hacked the computer, discovered the password Kronos, and carved it into the wall with his dying laser vision. But Gazerbeam was a lawyer, a superhero rights advocate, not a hacker or a tech specialist. So how did this guy navigate a hostile island, locate a computer behind a literal wall of lava, and extract the master password all while bleeding out? The answer is in the Phantasmics file. Gazerbeam used to live on New Atlantis. He left the team after a conflict with Everseer, but he knew that facility inside and out. He knew the ventilation shafts, he knew the exhaust tunnels, he knew that the command center was hidden behind the lava wall because he attended briefings there for years. When Syndrome lured him back to fight the Omnidroid, Gazerbeam wasn't walking into unfamiliar territory. He was walking into his old home, twisted into something unrecognizable but architecturally identical. And here's the key distinction. Gazerbeam didn't know the password Kronos from memory. That's Syndrome's project name, not legacy code. But he knew where the computer was. How he learned it doesn't really matter. Maybe he overheard guards, watched Syndrome type it, or saw it branded on equipment. A lawyer notices details. And Syndrome's operational security was never really his strong suit. He infiltrated using layout knowledge, accessed the terminal, discovered what Syndrome was planning, and carved the project name into stone as evidence. And the cave where he died is an exhaust vent for the rocket silo. We see it in the film. When the rocket launches, the flames flush Dash and Violet out of a cave connected to the same tunnel system. Gazerbeam didn't stumble into a random hiding spot. He navigated to a location he knew from the blueprints. And that word itself, Kronos. In Greek mythology, Kronos overthrew his father Ouranos and devoured his own children to maintain power. Syndrome, the rejected child, overthrew the Phantasmics and consumed their legacy. Gazerbeam was naming the crime, a true lawyer to the end, dying in the walls of his former home, leaving an indictment carved in stone. Now, here's the strongest objection to this theory. Syndrome is a narcissist. He craves credit. He monologues constantly. If he'd conquered a superhero base and massacred its residents, why wouldn't he brag about it? This guy can't help himself, so why the silence on his greatest conquest? because he is bragging, just not in spoken words. The name Nomanisan Island is a pun on the John Donne poem. No man is an island. The Phantasmics were a team. Their base was called New Atlantis, a name evoking collective scientific utopia. Syndrome renamed it to mock everything they stood for. No man is an island becomes Nomanisan. He took their team headquarters and branded it with an individualist manifesto. He desecrated their home with the philosophy it was built on. That's the brag. It's architectural, permanent, and it's the exact kind of petty, ego-driven victory that fits Syndrome's psychology. But the deeper issue is that Syndrome's entire identity depends on being self-made. He tells Mr. Incredible he succeeded without your precious gifts. Admitting he inherited a government black site would undermine his origin story. So he erases the evidence, renames the base, kills the witnesses, and rewrites history with himself as the sole author. He's not a genius inventor, he's a gentrifier with a body count. One question that remains: if New Atlantis was a government facility, how did the NSA lose track of it? The answer is simple: bureaucracy. When the superhero relocation program launched, the NSA was drowning, wiping memories, settling lawsuits, relocating supers to suburbia. They were managing a logistical nightmare with apparently limited resources.
It means hundreds of thousands of taxpayers' dollars. We gotta pay damages, erase memories, relocate your family. We can't keep doing this, Mom.
A secret mid-ocean location like New Atlantis would be easy to lose when you're actively shredding files and trying to bury an entire era. New Atlantis was a liability, an off-books black site housing a team that no longer legally existed. The path of legal resistance was to decommission it on paper and forget it existed. That created a vacuum, and Syndrome filled it. The institutional resources that built New Atlantis were government. The genius who built Nomanisan Island was a scavenger who found the government's abandoned infrastructure and claimed it as his own work. Now, to be clear, this isn't the NSA conspiring with Syndrome. There's no evidence they knew what he was doing until the Omnidroid attacked Metroville. Rick Dicker's line about freezing Syndrome's assets comes after the crisis. Standard procedure once a terrorist is identified, not proof of prior knowledge. The tragedy here is negligence. The system that was supposed to protect supers abandoned them so thoroughly that a madman could erase an entire team from history and no one noticed. Let's be precise about what the evidence supports. Syndrome didn't build Nomanisan Island. He occupied New Atlantis, the decommissioned headquarters of the Phantasmics, and renovated it to fit his own personal fortress. Syndrome didn't hunt the Phantasmics across the globe. He lured them back to their former home where a prototype robot was waiting to slaughter them. Syndrome didn't outsmart Gazerbeam. He was infiltrated by a man who knew every corridor, every exhaust vent, and every hidden passage, because Gazerbeam helped build them. And Syndrome didn't create his legacy from nothing. He built it on the bones of heroes the world forgot, in a home the government abandoned. Using institutional resources he rebranded as personal genius. When he screams,
"And I did it without your precious gifts,"
he's telling himself a story. The story of the self-made man, the genius who proved technology could beat biology. But the island beneath his feet tells a different story. One where the house belonged to someone else. One where the gifts he rejected were the foundation that he stood on. Buddy Pine isn't a genius. He's a squatter with a massacre and a marketing problem. And Gazerbeam is the exile who crawled back to his conquered home and carved a warning into stone. He was trying to tell us the truth, we just weren't listening. And thank you so much for watching. And click here where I prove the Toy Story villain is a lie. Turns out Sid's mutant toys weren't victims, they were an emergency surgical team. See you there.